Hey guys, hope you're doing well. So, in this video, I kind of want to go over some experiences I've had with a tech company. They have damn good products from what I can tell. I wanted to go and get some custom cables because I thought they looked nice and, you know, I enjoy my system. I want to enjoy it. Not just like performance-wise, but aesthetically as well. So, I had seen a lot from people talking about the product as well as the support itself, and so I went with Cablemod and got a custom cable, got a set of custom cables, and what had been using it with my whole setup, which even at the time was 2080 Ti. Fast forward, and I ended up upgrading to a 4080 Founders Edition. I was on a Strix with 2080 Ti, but I got the Founders Edition 4080, and I knew that it was coming with an adapter, and I didn't really want to deal with that adapter, so I got a 12-volt high power cable, basics one from Cablemod through Amazon, so that like I would have Cablemod's engineering to where I wouldn't need that adapter, and still have something that, you know, kind of looked nice. I did go ahead and order a custom Cablemod 12-volt cable. It was black and blue, just like the rest of my set is. I had a water block coming in for my 4080. I decided that I would put the custom cable into the system once I put the water block on. Seemed reasonable, so I didn't have to do a whole lot of unnecessary added effort. I did that, and along the way, the case that I was running, the Corsair 5000D Airflow, solid case, but I had a couple problems with it. One, to do maintenance on it, there was just so much felt like I had to take off and undo, and it almost felt too modular. Not to mention, I'm trypophobic. The front panel on the Corsair 5000D, it bothered me for a year, and I was just able to ignore it. It wasn't that bad, but eventually it got to me. I couldn't handle it anymore. So I got the Fantex G500A. I also got a different motherboard and decided to try and unhook everything because I wanted to go through and make sure the management on the cables was nice. Well, typically I prefer to go ahead and unplug everything from the motherboard and from the devices themselves so they're easier to route out from the case. Well, I got the 24-pin, 8-pin CPU cable out, but the GPU custom cable, I could not get out fucking at all. Like, it was stuck in there. I do know that, like, for my EQ water blocks, it came with a little tool to be able to push down the latch to be able to undo the cable. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I might have to do it this way, which, to my recollection, I didn't have to do that at all with the basics, but I'm like, okay, this might be an instance where I have to. So I went ahead and tried it out and tried to unhook it that way. Still, it wouldn't budge. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, well, maybe it needs a tad more force. Like, not a lot, because I'm going to break the thing, but just a tad. So I did use a tad more force, and it was not coming out at all. I didn't know what was going on. I busted my several nails up trying to get it out. I contacted Cablemod support, and they said that I might have to go ahead and disassemble it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I have a different motherboard I gotta put in, so this be a good time to go ahead and disassemble everything, just clean everything up, and just usual maintenance. So I did that, disassembled the block, and went to try and pull it out. Just now that I had a better grip on everything, I was able to pull it out. It wouldn't budge. I spent about 10 fucking minutes holding both the casing on the GPU itself and the casing on the cable, pulling them apart and shimming. Like, I had very good hold on them. I was making sure that the PCB wasn't going to get messed up, and I was just pulling on it. I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. I looked at the latch, and the latch didn't look like it was on there, but it looked like it could have been blocking it, and I kept on pushing it down, and it just, like, it kept on going back. So, because of just generally how snug the connector was, it wouldn't come open. So, I used these fucking pliers to grab the damn latch, pull it up. At this part, I didn't care if I broke the cable, because the customer support said, don't worry if you damage the cable, we'll replace it. I'm like, okay, which I'm gonna go over the conversation, because at a point it gets a little odd. So I pull up the latch as hard as I can with the pliers, and even then it took I say 10 minutes. It took about 5 minutes at least to be able to finagle the goddamn plug out. I looked at both ends, nothing was damaged, and I can actually put up on the screen here what it looked like after everything, because I felt it was necessary to send it into Cablemod support to show them what it looked like and everything. Mind you, it took me about 5 minutes to get it out, to get it unconnected, having disassembled the GPU block. From my recollection, I have not had that issue with the EK water blocks GPU block, which, give me just a moment. I'm going to try that right now, and let me see if I can get some decent lighting in here to show you. So you can see that pretty well. I'll go ahead and see if I can disconnect this without any issue. Oh, easier to do this with 2 hands, but alright, reaching underneath, grabbing that. Okay, there's a little bit of force, just like any other connector. Pulls out just fine. That took what, 5 seconds? And now just to get that. Okay, see, it's a good connection, no issue. That is with the Cablemod Basics cable. Now that you've seen that, and you've heard me mention that it took about 5 minutes to get the other one disconnected, this is the conversation that came about. And I'm going to read from the message that I sent them, just so we get a clear understanding, and I'm going to post a screenshot and everything of all the conversations that I've had right here. Okay, so from the top, from me at first. Hello, I received my order a week or two ago and just had the time last night. This was on the 10th to install it in my 4080 FE. After installing it, I attempted to remove it so that I could do some maintenance within my case. Unfortunately, I was completely unable to do so. I used the included tool from EK Water Blocks, the Vector Water Block, to assist with pushing down the cable latch, and this did not help. The cable is completely stuck. And this is their reply. Hi, I am terribly sorry about this. Please try to carefully pry open the latch with some sort of stick if you can. I believe I already mentioned that I did this. If you accidentally damage the cable in that process, no worries, we will replace the cable. Cool. Just be careful not to damage the GPU or water block. Makes sense, even though I kind of already scratched up the plexi because of struggling, but it happens, it's a plastic, it's all good. But I don't know why they said to use some stick whenever I already mentioned that I did. I think I did. Yeah, I used the included tool from EK Water Blocks, and yeah, I mentioned that I did that, so I mentioned then, unfortunately, I have already used the stick included with the water block, but to no success. To which they reply, "Hi, unfortunately the only solution I see here is uninstalling the water block as last resort. The power plug is probably too recessed due to the water block design, so the locking tab cannot be opened." Seems reasonable. I can agree with that, with the exception of, as you just saw, I was able to disconnect the basic one without any issues. Moving on. From myself. That was my thoughts as well. I will do this and follow up with the result. If issues persist, I will include photos and video. Thank you greatly for your time. Which I did. I greatly thank every customer support agent that I speak to, because they are taking their time, even though they're paid for it. They're still taking their time to work with me, and I greatly appreciate that. They could completely fucking ignore me like some manufacturers do, but they're taking their time, so I appreciate it. I appreciate to get any help besides random people on Reddit, even though they can be pretty helpful. And to which he replied, "You're very welcome. I am at your disposal." Which I appreciate that. Just being at the ready to help. Here is exactly what I said to them as a follow-up to him saying I am at your disposal. "So, I finally got some time to disassemble the GPU block and very carefully removed the cable. It took about 10 minutes to do so." It probably was more like 5, but it felt like 10. I was frustrated. "It took about 10 minutes to do so, and I had to pull the latch of the cable up hard with a set of pliers, the ones I showed you. Even with the latch bent out of the way, the cable was incredibly snug. I've included some pics of the cable, which I'll go ahead and include now. I also measured the plastic pieces with some digital calipers I have, and outside they are 2.4 millimeters. I don't know if this helps entirely, but it felt like it wouldn't hurt to include." So basically the casing pins the casing that surrounds the pins. This is what took me aback after I explained what I did, how I had to do it. "Hi, that's awesome news. The connector looks unharmed and ready for further usage. Unless you had something else in mind, then please let me know. The connection is indeed snug as we use the updated pin version NTK 4-spring system." Let's read that again from the top and go through the slight confusions. "That's awesome news. The connector looks unharmed and ready for further usage." Who in their right goddamn mind would reuse a cable that took 5 fucking minutes to disconnect after having to disassemble the fucking block? The Cablemod basics, as I just showed you, disconnected without issue, not too much issue, and took me less than 15 fucking seconds to do. The connection, unless you had something else in mind, then please let me know. Yes, I'd like to get a different custom cable, like, don't mind if I have to pay a little extra, to see if it will operate exactly like this basics one did. The connection is indeed snug as we use the updated pin version NTK 4-spring system. Truth be told, I don't entirely know what that 4-spring system is, but if the connection is going to be that goddamn snug, I'm sticking with this basics, because it should not take 5 minutes to disconnect a fucking cable whenever the majority of the problem with the 40 series and their fire issue was user incompetence, because people were going, "Oh, is mine burning up? Okay, good," and just half-ass sticking it in. That was the issue. Like, and I'm assuming that updated pin version is the reason that they went that way, because at the time, this is exactly what they thought was going on. My response: considering I have a basic version from Cablemod, purchased through Amazon, that I have no issues with being reasonably snug, yet is easily removed when I release the latch, is there a chance that a replacement custom cable would operate the same as the basic one? I love how easy the basic one operates, but would much rather have the black and blue aesthetic. Here's what gets me. All our 12-volt high-power cables have the same latching system, if that was your question, and all of them use the same pin type. My question is, am I going to have to spend 5 goddamn minutes with a different cable? That is my issue here. Like, I'm trying to be not outrageous and bitchy, but to have to completely take apart everything down to the PCB to remove a plug, a cable. That is ridiculous. I'm going to continue this conversation. I am more than likely going to buy another 12-volt high power cable from Cablemod, a custom one, to see if it does the same thing. If it does, I will not be using the custom cables, and I would advise, I would potentially advise against it for others who may be in my situation as well, until Cablemod can further look into things, but I will not go that far in depth until I can get another cable and test it out. Until then, the 12-volt custom high-power cable from Cablemod, the cable itself and its design currently, fuck you. Not dealing with it. I highly recommend the Cablemod Basics from Amazon, but again, I'm going to see what happens, and I might be completely wrong, and I might be laughing at myself later on. I don't know. But until then, I wish you guys the best, and